Hello and welcome back to the United Forum. This is bringing you your latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and your opportunity to voice your opinion out for the very first time in Sri Lanka. To start off with tonight's match, Manchester United did kick off their Premier League season taking on Brighton, and Man United are back in making our weekends the best weekends we could ever ask for. Just before I get to that, do give me a second. Let me just get this video sorted out. Not quite sure if this mic's actually working. It's a problem. Anyways, let's stick to our content. And yes, United in fact win against. In fact, oh dear God, dear Lord. United unfortunately start off their season on a bad note, and it was Eric Ten Hag's first match as well. Plenty to talk to you about the game. Eric Ten Hag's first game in charge as Manchester United boss. In fact, the start of the Premier League of United lose their game 1-2 against Brighton. And what a way to start the Premier League off. I mean, Liverpool have got a win, have got themselves a win. Chelsea have got themselves a win. Manchester City have got themselves a win as well. And Tottenham Hotspurs have got themselves a win too. And Manchester City are getting their win as well. And United have been quite. I'm not quite sure. I know it's a new season, it's a new manager, but United just don't seem to be new. It just seems to be the same old United we've been seeing under the latter stages of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The same old United we saw along with Ralph Rangnick as well, and we actually did think with Eric Ten Hag we might see something new, but apart from Lisandro Martinez and Eric Ten Hag in that game, in fact, Christian Eriksen in that game, there was nothing new. That was definitely not Eric Ten Hag style football that we did play against Brighton. I expected United to dominate in position. I expected United to dominate the game, to create more chances, and to easily and comfortably win tonight's game. But it was totally the other way around. United were not creating chances. There was loads of empty spaces, wide spaces, open spaces for Brighton to capitalize on. I think when you play a defense, a high line defense under Eric Ten Hag, definitely Harry Maguire is not a suitable defender or a centre back for that, because Danny Welbeck tonight looked like Cristiano Ronaldo, and Cristiano Ronaldo, when he did come on, did not look like Cristiano Ronaldo himself, because he was making those tricky runs behind Harry Maguire, and Maguire was not the quickest, so he couldn't really catch up to Danny Welbeck as well, and Welbeck did capitalize on it as well, and though Brighton have lost key players like Yves Bissouma and Marco Kurilla, we know how good Graham Potter as a coach is. He has been in the Premier League, he has the experience, he knows what United is going to be, he knows who is at the back and how Harry Maguire is at the back as well, the lack of pace and where United are weak. And I think Graham Potter actually schooled that United team tonight, because Eric Ten Hag, once again, a few questions to be asked from him as well. The starting lineup, the substitutions. As much as I love Eric Ten Hag as a manager, plenty of questions to be asking him, because at the end of the day, he is the manager of the club. He is the one who picks the starting lineup, and you have got to ask your questions from him. Definitely, I'm definitely backing Eric Ten Hag until the end of the season, and maybe even for the next 3 years if he does well. But I really wanted Eric Ten Hag at Manchester United, and I hope he succeeds. He is a manager I actually love, and and I'm actually satisfied with the appointment by Manchester United. Out of all the candidates we did have, and finally I thought United have made a proper appointment in appointing a proper manager, and I'm definitely backing Eric Ten Hag. I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm not calling him out. I'm actually not saying that I'm Ten Hag out. What I'm trying to say is, you've got to ask your questions on that starting lineup. He had midfielders. I know that we don't have the best of depth. We don't have the best of quality in depth, in other words, but we do have the likes of Van der Beek. We do have the likes of Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. Now, I know that Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes did start, but you easily should have started Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes in that midfield and Van der Beek as a holding midfielder. And you should have gone with, at least an Elanga, Marcus Rashford, and Jadon Sancho from three. I know it's difficult as a manager, but I think that midfield cost us the game. And as much as you would ask, I just realized this as well. But if you really look into it, Eric Ten Hag actually does not have any other option, does he? Because Rashford's pathetic on the right. He is pathetic as a striker as well. You've got to play him on the left. Jadon Sancho is both good on the left and right, but Rashford can't get into the right because he's not as good as on the right, as good as he is on the left, and neither is he as good as that as a striker. So you've got to play him on the left, play Sancho on the right. Elanga as a striker is definitely not going to work. Garnacho as a striker is definitely not going to work. He is too young. Martial is injured. Ronaldo is just not up to fitness levels. Who do you actually play as a striker? Has he really got any option apart from playing Christian Eriksen there, who has played as a false nine before? And if you really deep it, the only difference he should have made in that starting lineup is Van de Beek, but that starting midfield is quite arguable because we've seen what Fred and McTominay keep starting, throughout the past few seasons as well, and we saw them start during preseason as well. So there's really nothing much Eric Ten Hag could have changed in that starting lineup apart from Van de Beek and maybe Tyrell Malacia. You definitely wouldn't bring Aaron Van Bissaka as right back because you need him, Diogo Dalot, because he is the only attacking right back we've got. So you really can't question Eric Ten Hag there, but I really don't know what's actually wrong with Manchester United. You've got a new manager, who is a proven manager, who really has proper tactics, proper coaching. He has the backroom staff behind him as well. He's got proper people at the backroom staff. It's just that I think this game is proper blame. The proper blame. You could properly blame the Glazers for this game. Because you've got a new manager in. You've got to back the manager. You haven't backed the manager. This manager is known for a style of play. He's known for his philosophy. He is known for his way of things. And if he is to implement his way of things at Manchester United, you've got to back the manager. And just like what Roy Keane did say today as well, United, he actually what he did actually come out and say is that the fans are saying that the players are finally practicing properly, training properly, and that's what the players should actually be doing. What has to happen at United is that they've got to bring themselves an identity. And I do think Erik Ten Hag is the right manager to bring in that identity, to bring in that philosophy, bring in that style of play. Yes, he's definitely the right man. He has shown that at Ajax as well. He's got the backroom staff he needed. And when you bring a manager as such, you've got to back him. What Erik Ten Hag has now is bits of Louis van Gaal, is bits of Jose Mourinho, and it's also bits of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Thankfully, there are no bits of Ralph Rangnick because under Ralph Rangnick, we really did not get any transfers. But Ralph Rangnick, after his managerial stint, did come out and say that United at least need 10 to 11 transfers by the next summer window. And the man who speaks the truth is shown the exit door. That is what is wrong at Manchester United, and that is why I say you could proper blame the Glazers for this game. Because I'm actually happy that the Glazers were actually watching the game United as well. You did see Avram Glazer present for the game. He definitely did think that United were going to school Brighton and finally get a win and show the fans that there's nothing wrong with this squad. It was all about the coaching. We've got the right recruitments in Erik Ten Hag. In fact, Christian Eriksen, yes, Erik Ten Hag as manager, Lisandro Martinez and Tyrell Malacia, and we don't need any other signings. We've got to pay dividends to our shareholders. Is what the Glazers did think would happen today, but it was the other way around. Brighton showed Erik Ten Hag what the Premier League is all about. You've got to respect teams starting from Nottingham Forest to Bournemouth to Fulham to the Manchester Cities, the Tottenham Hotspurs, the Chelseas, the Liverpools. You've got to respect each and every team out there. You shouldn't be taking it easy. And I do think Erik Ten Hag did show out some respect as well. It's just that he doesn't have the, resources he needs to bring this club back to where it should be. Because like I say, you can't bring a patient to a carpenter and tell the carpenter to treat the patient. You've got to take a patient to a doctor in order to treat the patient. You can't take the car to a plumber and get the car fixed. You've got to take it to the man who fixes the car. You can't take a student to a sportsman and teach him English, science, or maths. You've got to take him to a teacher. You can't take a teacher to a sportsman and tell him to coach a sportsman. You've got to take him to a coach, and that is what is going on at Manchester United. You don't have the right people at the right places. We've only got Eric Ten Hag now. Yes, he has the proper backroom staff, but the root of things, where the root starts, things at the root is not right. Starting from the zoners to the people at the board, you can keep telling John Murtough is doing the right thing, but he is not. Because if he is doing the right thing, if you actually look at what Luis Campos is doing at PSG, the number of transfers he's bringing in, the quality of players he's bringing in, players he's bringing in to fit in the style. That is what John Murtough should be actually doing. You look at Fabio Paratici, what he is doing at Tottenham Hotspur. That is what John Murtough is supposed to be doing, not to be taking the whole transfer window on one player. All right, if that player is being stalled, if that deal is being stalled, you've got to move on and you've got to get other players. Frankie De Jong is not a defensive midfielder. His qualities as an attacking midfielder or a box-to-box midfielder are far more better than a defensive midfielder. That midfield is pathetic. If that midfield is being schooled by Brighton, imagine the battering we are going to be getting by the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City. What I've got to say is the future is not good for Sri Lanka, the future is not good for Manchester United, the weekends are not getting any better for us. I would actually leave in pre-season than, start this season already. I actually tweeted out saying that it's the dawn of a new era just before 26 minutes before the match started, and it can't any dawn of a new era, mate. To all of you out there, it can't any dawn of a new era. It's the same old era being recycled again and again and again and again. It's as if you're taking an earbud, you clean your ears, you take a piece of cotton wool, clean that earbud again and use that again and again and again, and you just imagine to be a new earbud. That's what you keep doing. And that is what is happening at Manchester United. You keep changing the managers again and again and again, but it's the same players, it's the same owners, the same people at the board. When you've got to bring players who fit the managers, United are trying to bring managers who fit players. In fact, United, in other words, are just an upgraded version of Watford, where you keep sacking managers. You've got a pathetic board, you've got pathetic owners, you've got pathetic players, and you keep changing your managers, thinking the managers would change the situation at United. I'm not going to talk anymore about the match. Let's get straight away to the player ratings. And I apologize in advance. Unfortunately, I haven't updated the player pictures. In fact, I'm not being able to get the updated pictures, so I won't be using the graphics. In fact, for the player ratings, apart from the numbers, I won't be bringing the graphics of the players because they are not updated. Hopefully by next week I'll be getting that done, and I will only be using my ratings. And for the lineup, I'm just going to be verbal on it, so hopefully you guys listen. I apologize in advance for this. I promise you I'll bring you the updated graphics by next week. So getting on to player ratings, do send in your opinions on the live chat now. What you actually think about the match, where do you think the improvements need to be, your player ratings, and why, and the reasons you should be rating each player out of 10, and why you rate these players the rating you have been you have given them. So let's start off with the lineup. So today's lineup was at the six, you did have David De Gea, Harry Maguire, Lisandro Martinez as a centre back pairing, which I think shouldn't be the centre back pairing if you are playing a high line of defense, because both these centre backs are not pacey enough or not fast enough for a high line of defense. Lisandro Martinez is not the quickest, and Harry Maguire is definitely the quickest in the Premier League, so you shouldn't be playing. He's wasting his energy playing for Manchester United, and I really pray that Scott McTominay got a red card that match, but unfortunately he did not. Going on with the lineup, we had Diogo Dalot at right back, Luke Shaw at left back, Bruno Fernandes as the number 10, Fred and Scott McTominay as the holding midfielders in that duo. Up front, we had Marcus Rashford on the left, Jadon Sancho on the right, and Christian Eriksen as a false 9. And let's start our rating off with David De Gea. Now, I'm going to bring the old graphics of the players I've actually got, if that satisfies you, or do you want me to stick to the ratings? I'll stick to the ratings, I guess, and maybe from next week I'll get to the graphics. I really apologize in advance for the inconveniencing graphics as we're not able to see them for today. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to update the graphics, so once again I apologize. So hopefully from next week I get you guys the graphics, the updated ones. So let's start off with David Dahya. Now David Dahya, on that first goal we did concede, I thought the first save he made was brilliant. It was a difficult save. Unfortunately, on the rebound, Pascal Gross managed to get it behind the nets. Nothing really much on the second attempt he could do. Distribution wise, yes, it was not. I think Dahia has a lot of eyes on him when he distributes that ball across the field, because people actually criticize him for his distribution. So whenever he does the distribution, a lot of eyes are on him because we expect improvement, and we really, United fans are desperate for another goalkeeper because his distribution is bad. It's a difficult situation. If you really ask my opinion, if I really want David Dahia, whether I really don't want him, I would say I'm on the middle of the fence. The fence is two sides. If this is actually the fence, I'm going to be standing right in the middle. I'm neither on the side where, you know, where I actually want David De Gea and where I don't want David De Gea. He's been a great servant for Manchester United. Yes, his distribution is poor. Let's give him time maybe this season, since we can't get a goalkeeper now, and if actually see if he can improve on that. But I do think in a system like Ten Hag's, distribution is crucial. And Roberto Sanchez, the goalkeeper from Brighton, actually had decent distribution. He fed in a few long balls to Danny Welbeck, which was well handled by Chris Lisandro Martinez at times as well. I thought that distribution is what Daher should be looking into and learning from his fellow Spaniard as well. As a shot stop, I do think he's brilliant. He's off the charts. He's one of the best in the world as a shot stopper. But as a distributor, I'm not quite sure if he is up there. But tonight's game, I'm going to give David Dahya a 5. Not much of his mistakes on the goal, 2 goals conceded as well. Decent game for him. Decent, I wouldn't say, but a little less than decent, you could say. A game where you could actually give him a rating of 5. Now, do send in your opinions on this. If you do think 5 is a little too much, do send in your ratings, which you do think David Dahya deserves, and maybe give us a small reason on that as well. So, yes, my rating for David Dahya will actually be a 5. I thought, yes, his distribution was poor, but as a shot stopper, he really did not have anything much to stop, because 2 goals we conceded were quite difficult. First one after the rebound where he made a superb save, I thought. Difficult save. He really did not have the time to get to the other end. Fred was too slow to cover Pascal Gross. Really nothing much he could do. The second goal we scored to, I thought, was a pathetic goal to be conceding. But unfortunately, I don't think there was actually anything Dahya could actually do there. So let's move on from David Dahya to the next player we actually have in the lineup, and that goes to our defense. So excuse me, before we do move on to our defense, get some water. We start off with our fullbacks, Luke Shaw. I thought Luke Shaw was just not good enough today. In the first half, I really did not see him in that game. It's actually the same with Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot. I actually did not see them in the game in the first half. Yes, during the first 1 to 2 minutes, I did see them moving up and front as going up front moves forwards and then coming back into the defense. But apart from that, I really did not see a fullbacks in the game in the first half today. I thought they're just not good enough. I thought Tyron Malacia should have started, because he's a youngster, he's fresh, and he would actually play with passion than all these players we've got at United. I am actually from Sri Lanka. Dahya a 3. I think that's fair enough as well if it's from your point of view. I think that 3 is made because of his distribution. I suppose because his distribution was quite poor, and I actually saw that in him as well. Whenever Dahya was pressed, he seemed to be he did actually seem like he couldn't handle that pressure of being pressed. Especially, I do think that is because of his distribution. His quality in distribution is just not there, and that is why he falls victim to the press. It's not just Brighton. We saw it last season as well. We are seeing it this season. We did expect a few improvements as well. It's just that Dahya is actually a proper goalkeeper. He is a goalkeeper. Dahlia is actually from the previous era of football, you could say, where it was during the times of Sir Alex Ferguson's and them, where the distribution of a keeper really did not matter. What actually mattered was, stopping these, was being a shot stopper, was what the goalkeepers were meant for. And as time went, the game has actually evolved, and football is now in another era where the distribution from the goalkeeper is actually crucial. And Dahi has actually fallen victim to that transformation in the game, in which he has not been able to adapt to, and I think that is what is costing Dahya the critics he has been getting. So, and I think, yes, he has fallen victim to the involvement in the game and his inability to adapt in that change, and I think that is why Dahya is being criticized as he is being criticized. So I understand why you give that 3. Luke Shaw a 2. Yes, and I think, yes, not just Luke Shaw, I think both the fullbacks, Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot, were poor in the game as well. They were just not up there. I really did not see them, in the first half, apart from that second half, towards the latter bit of the second half, where we actually tried to, feed in a few crosses and get someone over there to put that ball behind the net. It was only then did I see the two fullbacks come out in the game and, they seem to be putting a few crosses. Now, what I'm actually worried about is United, and United fans are actually desperate. In fact, Manchester United too are desperate for a striker. And 8 minutes or 5 minutes into the game, you also did see sources coming out, journalists coming out and say that United have bid for Mark Arnautovic. Now, let me tell you what, United can get in Haaland, United can have Ronaldo, United can have Edinson Cavani, Julian Alvarez, Romelu Lukaku, Lautaro Martinez, Harry Kane, any striker you want. What I'm actually worried is about this service, because even if we had a striker up there, our fullbacks were not in the game today. Even if you bring Marco Arnautovic is not up there among the best of strikers around Europe. And I'm actually worried. It's not just Arnautovic. You can even bring Haaland from Manchester City right now and put him in that United squad as a striker. He is just not going to get that. He's just not going to get that service he needs, because, like I did tell, I did not see the fullbacks in the game, and this has not just been a problem this season. We've seen this problem throughout the past 2 to 3 seasons. United are a team, you could say, which does not evolve their game. I really don't know what to say, because United, you take the fullbacks, they don't provide your service. You take the goalkeeper, who's not best at distribution. We have a problem in midfield. We have been desperate for a defensive midfield for the past 3 summers. We haven't been getting a defensive midfielder. You had Conrad Lima available. You had Sangare available, who has also signed a new contract. We also had Babakar Kamara available. He was gone to. He's actually now at where is he? Aston Villa. And we were, linked to all the defensive midfielders in the world, but United just don't go and get them. So I'm really not sure. And let me tell you this: not just Eric Ten Hag, you can bring in Pep Guardiola, you can bring in Thomas Tuchel, Antonio Conte, Jurgen Klopp, any manager in the world. I just don't think these managers would actually succeed at Manchester United, considering the people we have as owners, the people at the board, and people we have in charge of the important segments at Manchester United, starting from the board, starting from the owners to the recruitment. We just don't have the right people. And like I told you, you can bring in Haaland, you can bring in Ronaldo. We literally have Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best footballers football has ever seen in the past decade or so. In a new era, be it the old era, be it the new era, whatever era it is, throughout these eras, he has been one of the best footballers football has produced. He is at Manchester United, and we as Manchester United are unable to give him the service he wants. I'll tell you what, Rafael Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo are the only 2 players out there who have the mentality of being a champion, who have the mentality of being a winner. And Manchester United fans want Cristiano Ronaldo out. And I'm actually not surprised why Cristiano Ronaldo wants to leave Manchester United, because Ronaldo came to United thinking United would be ambitious, thinking United would go in the right direction. But United aren't doing that. United aren't going in the right direction. We aren't showing any ambition. And it's no surprise that a world-class footballer, a champion, a player with a winning mentality wants to actually leave Manchester United. I'm definitely sure that Rafael Varane is regretting his decision to come to Manchester United, and I definitely think the only reason he actually did come to United is because he's won everything at Real Madrid. He's won 4 Champions Leagues. He's won the World Cup. He's won the La Liga and also the cup, domestic cup at Spain, and he's won everything you could win at Spain. He's won everything as a player for the nation as well, winning a World Cup, and he just wanted to try something new, experiment something new. The next best league he has as an option is the Premier League, and that is the only reason Rafael Varane is at Manchester United, because at that time any other top club did not really want centre back, and I do think Chelsea did not go for him at that time because he was a little what could you say, injury prone, and that is the very reason Rafael Varane is here, and I definitely do think he is regretting his decision being at Manchester United right now. Let's move on from Luke Shaw. I actually give Luke Shaw a 3. My fellow friend here has given Luke Shaw a 2 as well, considerable, because I definitely agree with the low ratings given throughout this week as well. Yes, Luke Shaw, no overlap, definitely. I did see, there was this one overlapping run. I actually did expect, what I actually did expect from Luke Shaw was better overlap, because we finally had Marcus Rashford on the left, and we saw how these two players, Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford, actually link up, and how good their link up plays. We saw it under Solskjaer, and with Rashford coming back on the left, I actually did expect to see that. And Luke Shaw, after that one season he had under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when it was Alex Telles' first season at United, where he was on top form and even better than Andrew Robertson. He went on the Euros and performed quite well as well. And after that season, Luke Shaw just hasn't been in good form. He just hasn't been up there. And not quite sure why. And I really do think Tyrell Malacia should be playing instead of Luke Shaw, because he's young. He's hungry to win games. He shows that hunger. He shows that passion in him. And that is why I would actually go for Luke Shaw. Dahi cannot play as a sweeper keeper, yes, definitely. But to be honest, I'm actually seeing glimpses of improvement from Dahi. He is actually coming out of his line, but it's not enough, because at Manchester United, you've got to be at your best. You shouldn't be good. You shouldn't be average. You shouldn't be anywhere between your best and good. You should be the best. When you are at Manchester United, the least you should be doing is training well, and United fans are actually praising players for actually being trained well. That is the least you should be doing as a Manchester United manager, just like Roy Keane pointed out as well. United fans coming out and saying that players are training well, because that's actually what United players should be doing. I think that is the mentality United are missing, and United are actually missing a leader in there. The first mistake I do think Erik Ten Hag did do was, not taking that captain's armband out of Harry Maguire. What I hope he would do is have a situation like the situation at Manchester City a few seasons back, where they did not have the armband with one specific player. They kept rotating it depending on the most experienced player in the starting 11. Exactly, we've been linked to Arnautovic, which is pathetic, out of considering that we are Manchester United being linked to a striker like Arnautovic. We've gone from Edinson Cavani to Cristiano Ronaldo to Marco Arnautovic, hoping Erik Ten Hag would actually rebuild United, for a rebuilding, for a rebuild, bringing back Mark Arnautovic, who actually was not the best at West Ham too, and bringing a player of Arnautovic's caliber. I'm not quite sure if that is actually the player you should be bringing for a rebuild. Maybe a Sesko. Yeah, he is young. He is around 19 or 20. He is hungry. He is fresh, and he definitely would play with passion and play to win, rather than these lazy players we've got out there. And I bet you what. At halftime, I tweeted out saying that the Premier League should be bringing out a rule where we should actually be able to substitute 11 players if we are to win this game. Actually, we don't even have another squad to bring. We should be bringing in the women's team. to play by halftime, and I bet you they would have done a better job. They would have actually fought against, given a proper fight to Brighton. And let's move on from our fullbacks. So I've given Shaw a 2 as well. I'll stick to Dalot. This is the old graphic I do have. Of course, I'm going to switch the graphics. I'm not using the graphics of the players since I've not updated them yet. But once I do update them, I will actually start using the graphics. I really don't want to use the old ones because they're quite boring. But I'll stick to the numbers for now. So Shaw 2 and giving, in fact, Shaw a 3 and Dalot a 3 as well. So moving on from the defense, we move on to our midfield where we start with Scott McTominay. And the first mistake I do think Erik Ten Hag made in that match was, not substituting Scott McTominay off, where he did take Fred off and bring in, who was it? Cristiano Ronaldo, if I'm not wrong. I thought it should have been the other way around. Scott McTominay should have come out. He was on a yellow card and he was pathetic. He was just not at the level of Manchester United, I bet you. I'm not sure if you guys know. If you guys are on Twitter, you guys probably know this guy as well. He goes as the European lad on Twitter. AFC Ajax, a fan of Ajax, and he was a huge fan of Erik Ten Hag as well when he was at Ajax. And he did say, you could bring in Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, you could bring in Thomas Tuchel, Anthony Conte, Erik Ten Hag, or whoever you want to, but with Scott McTominay and Fred, you aren't going far. The funny thing is, we as fans, as Manchester United fans, a fan from Ajax understands this. It's just that the owners of this club don't understand this. We've been pointing this out season after season after season and season after season. We've been crying and desperate for a midfielder. Each and every season, a new manager comes in, cries and begs for players from these owners, but they just don't deliver. Jose Mourinho was desperate for a centre back, and who did we deliver? He wanted the likes of Koulibaly and other World Cup top defenders. We came up with a Swedish joke called Lindelof at that time, who gradually did improve under Jose Mourinho, I thought. And we ended up with Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, Eric Bailey, who was an injury-prone defender, and he really too had no other option. And he was thrown under the bus as well by the players. And then we went on with the likes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it's just the Watford upgraded version of Watford Manchester United. You've got shite players, a shite owner, and they just keep throwing managers under the bus, and you've got to keep changing your managers just like you change your clothes. And A says, bro, you are like the Sri Lankan Mark Goldbridge. Thanks a lot, mate. Well, he is the one who has inspired me today to go on with this podcast I do today. It's not up to the best of standards. Yes, hopefully I actually do have my advanced levels examinations coming up in November, so I'm a little focused on that. So once I actually do finish that, hopefully I would bring in some upgrades to this, major upgrades, actually proper upgrades, and improve the show for you guys, and bring in some interesting things as well into the mix. Let's go on with the player ratings as well. We move on to Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay, my rating, I thought he was poor. At times, he was actually trying one too many things. The back heel passes. He was trying to pull the ball back and dribble like, trying to be a Neymar as well at times, which was actually quite annoying because this man cannot even do the basic right. He can't even pass the ball forward. He keeps passing the ball backwards and sideways, and he actually wants to go for back heel passes, which is, I really don't know what this guy has on his brains or in his brains. And anyway, pathetic performance by him. Should have been substituted in the second half. Should never have started the game in the first place. But Erik Ten Hag really does not have any other option. Maybe Van de Beek should have started. I would give Scott McTominay a 2. I'm sorry, McTominay, but I've got to give you a 2. And moving on from Scott McTominay, we've got Fred in that midfield as well. I think Fred is actually a decent midfielder, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Now, football is about opinion. This is my opinion. I do think that Fred, you might not agree with me on this, but I do think Fred is a decent midfielder. His strengths are, being a box-to-box midfielder, closing down on the opposition, pressing and winning possession. I do think that is what his strength is. But the fact that you play Fred with McTominay, whenever you play Fred with McTominay, I think it not just holds the team back, it especially holds Fred back. and I think that is very visible. We saw that difference when Fred was playing on a Ranić, where Ranić actually gave Fred the freedom of moving from box to box, and we actually did see that improvement in Fred. And a lot of people, not just me, not just you, but a lot of fans, Manchester United fans, did say that Fred actually looks much better under Ranić, and I do think that is because he was given that freedom to move within the two boxes as a box-to-box midfielder and not just stay deep as a holding midfielder. Unfortunately, he has to do that when he plays beside Scott McTominay in order to cover up his flaws, or you could say paper the cracks, and that is what I think holds Fred back. And I do think he did not deserve to come off by half time. It should have been Scott McTominay. I think he too was disappointed. We saw that in him, the shake of the head during halftime. But unfortunate to him, and that performance definitely was not good enough. I don't think he should be playing as a holding midfielder. And based on today's performance, judging on today's performance, I would give Fred a 3. Bruno Fernandes, I really don't know what's actually gone wrong with Bruno Fernandes. You know, he actually came to Manchester United, changed things the other way around, you know, brought back United's reputation, showed the fans that there's a glimpse, a ray of hope. United can be back. He may be that Eric Cantona we need in the present era, and we actually had a lot of hope on Bruno Fernandes. You know, he comes in, scores more goals than Steven Gerrard has done as a midfielder as well, and we actually had hope. In the next season, he was not the best of his seasons as well, but he was decent because in his worst season, he did manage to get to double figures considering goals and assists as well. So we did think under Erik ten Hag he would get back to his previous form where he did first come to United and, you know, tear things apart, and that is what I did expect today. I expected to see Bruno Fernandes who was much more fresh, who actually does not look like a person who is stressed out, because we've seen consistently with Bruno Fernandes where he just stresses out, you know, goes at the referees whenever things don't go right, and he just seems to be that old Bruno Fernandes here. I'm not quite sure what is actually going on at Manchester United. You've got a new manager, you expect the players to play for the manager, you know, to win the manager's heart and show that they're actually playing with passion and seal that starting spot for them, but that just didn't seem to be the thing today. I'm not actually sure what's going on there. It's actually a circus out there. It's a Manchester circus out there. Nobody knows what's going on. You know, John Murdoch, you've got the Glazers and all those guys coming off with smiles on the stands. You know, Eric ten Hag doesn't look happy. The players don't look happy. Nothing's going right for United. I actually regret the season starting. Bruno Fernandes, I'm just going to give him a 3. Just not good enough. And I'm still finding it difficult to see what his role is. Is he a free roaming number 10? Is he got to keep position because he keeps losing position as well? Missed a sit early on as well. I thought he should have scored. A player of Bruno Fernandes should be, you know, scoring that opportunity he did get earlier. It was an easy finish. It was not that difficult right in front of the goal. Yes, he had a few defenders in front of him, but he easily should have curled it that ball behind the net. A player of his standard should be able to do that, and unfortunately he couldn't. And we move on to the forward line, starting off with Rashford 2 missing sitters and that body language. Yes, I actually don't see any difference in Rashford's body language as well. You know, Rashford, you know, you've got these Twitter accounts, you know, these random football facts and all that. These guys should be tweeting saying all that an injured Rashford is far better than a Rashford who is not injured, because Rashford with the injury under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer before the Europa League final, and in that not in that Europa League final, but before the Europa League final, did look quite lively, had proper body language, you know, tracked back at times quite well as well, and, you know, was creating chances, making runs, dribbling, you know, getting those shots on goal as well. And Rashford just doesn't seem to be that Rashford we all knew at Manchester United, that young lad at 19 years old who played with hunger in him, with desire in him, with passion in him. He just didn't seem to be that player we all knew, we all saw when he was 19 as a kid. And, you know, I still remember the game in Brighton where he went on dribbling and, you know, he sent Ben White back to Leeds as well. I actually miss Rashford. I actually loved that player, the Rashford we all knew. And I actually thought it was all because he was not settled at a position, because he kept switching to the right. He was a striker and then again at the left wing. And I actually thought Rashford would be a much better player under Ranić. That did not work out as well. I actually thought he would be a better player at, with Eric Ten Hag as well. At preseason, he brought in all these videos fresh. He feels better. He came out to the media and also said he feels better. It's a much needed break for him, where he actually had a proper break and then got into preseason and now getting into the games gradually. And he just his body language just doesn't seem to show that. And I'm not quite sure what's actually going on in that squad. Rashford was poor for me as well. I'm going to stick to a 4, maybe a 4.5 with him, maybe a 5. So I'll stick to 4.5 and I'll round it off to a 4. It's a 4.5 and I'll stick to 4. It's just not good enough. Just not good enough. And I actually expected that link up play from him as well. See Ronaldo, unfortunately, Ronaldo. Yeah, we move on to our striker Christian Eriksen, who did start. I'll get to Ronaldo a little later as well. Ericsson, uh, and I actually expected, Ericsson to at least score a goal out of the blue. When I did see that starting lineup, I actually did not want Ericsson to play as a false nine, because the last time he did play as a false nine was at Ajax, and that was during the 2012-13 season against Manchester City, where he actually did score. And I'm not quite sure who the manager was, but he also did speak on playing Ericsson as a false nine, but I think Ericsson is more of a number 8 or a creator, in other words, and his attributes is not finishing and being a threat in the box. It's more of creating, putting those key passes, putting those through balls, and feeding the forwards up there as well. And that is in the role he played. I'm not quite sure if you could give him an excuse of having that bad game, since not bad game but an average game, you could say, since he did play out of position. And in the second half, you did see Christian Eriksen move on to that defensive midfielder role, and I'll tell you what, he definitely did a better job than both Scott McTominay and Fred did out there. Yes, he was not the best against the better teams. He wouldn't be the best either, I do think. He is not as good. He is not as good as the Fabinhos, the Rodris, the Kantes, the Jorginhos, the Bisumas we have seen as holding midfielders. But he definitely did a better job than the likes of Scott McTominay and Fred. A decent game on his Manchester United debut as well, and I think he does deserve a 6, because he has been playing out of position. He started off out of position as a false nine, where he hasn't been playing up there quite frequently. Had he played the right wing, maybe he would have done better. One thing Eric Ten Hag should have tried, since things were not working out, is bring Rashford as a striker, because we know he actually has played a few games. Comparing to the number of games Ericsson has played as a striker, moved Sancho onto the left and Ericsson to the right, but that did not work out as well, since he did not actually try that. We move on from Ericsson to Jadon Sancho. Humaid Rahim actually says United's era was years ago, and now it's all just meaningless transfers. Honestly, mate, start off with the transfers. I do think Malasia was a decent transfer, but you've actually got to question these transfers as well, because under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you bring in Alex Telles, you sign a long-term contract with him for about 50 million, if I'm not wrong, and 2 seasons later, you sack the manager who got him in, you bring in a new manager, and he's off on loan. So you've paid 50 million, you've given him a long-term contract, and 2 years later you're loaning him out to another team, and where you could have actually sold him and made some money at least. You could have done that, but you've loaned him out as well. United and the opposition with loans. A lot of questions to be asked regarding the recruiting of Manchester United, and it's not just with the income; it's been the same with the outgoings as well. The only thing United have been doing regarding outgoings, which they haven't been doing that well as well, is the loanings of the academy players, the likes of Ghana. Ghana was a successful one, the likes of Laird and the others, but outgoings, we haven't been able to even do that properly, apart from the likes of Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, and Eric Ten Hag. In fact, they got Paul Pogba, Edinson Cavani, and Jesse Lingard, whose actually contracts were expired, and that is why they had to leave. But there are plenty of outgoings which you could make a few pounds out of as well, and you haven't been able to do that as well. The likes of Phil Jones, Eric Bailey, Alex Telles, at least, the likes of Scott McTominay. I do think if you do get enough of Scott McTominay, you should be able to, capitalize on that and make some a good signing who could, a young signing who would actually play with some passion out there. When it comes to Scott McTominay, fans always talk about passion. How he plays with passion. We actually did not see that today from him either. So it's actually worrying. ASN Dalot missing that sexy chemistry with Sancho in pre-season. Yes, and United were actually linked with Denzel Dumfries, and I would actually like to see Denzel Dumfries play on that right flank. And I do think United should go for Ashraf Hakim if we do actually have that opportunity, which I do think we don't, because he does not want to leave PSG, and PSG are not looking to sell. But that chemistry Jadon Sancho did have, which he did have with Hakimi at Borussia Dortmund, was on another level. That chemistry between, in fact, Ashraf Hakimi and Jadon Sancho, and then you've got that chemistry up front between Erling Haaland and Jadon Sancho as well. That was unreal at Borussia Dortmund. Unfortunately, we don't have that chemistry here, because I do think that dressing room is a little split, isn't it? I still do think there are a few things going on in that dressing room that we as fans still don't know, and hopefully we will get to know what's actually going on behind the scenes. And moving on from Christian Eriksen, let's move on. Let's get going with the player ratings as well. So from Christian Eriksen, we actually move on to Jadon Sancho, and I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch, and his performance wasn't that good as well. And to be calling that the best performance on the pitch should be pathetic as a Manchester United fans, because as a Manchester United fan, because the standards you've got to maintain when you are a Manchester United player, and the standards are just not up there. Hasn't been up there since 2012, where Saf actually did live, Sir Alex Ferguson did live. Sancho did have a decent game, and I would give him a 6. I thought he was the only good player in that pitch. Really couldn't do anything as well. He wasn't supported by his fullbacks. There was no chemistry between him and Diogo Dalot as well. It's worrying because I'm actually confused. I'm not quite sure what's going on at United. The players, you suddenly see, United performing well in pre-season. You beat Liverpool 4-0, go on to Australia, beat Melbourne victory quite comfortably as well. Rayo Vallecano, yes, you lose the game to Atletico Madrid, but you did have a decent performance there. And suddenly you start off your Premier League season and you get in this performance. You know, I wish it was scripted, because the Glazers are watching the game, and maybe Eric Ten Hag told the players, the owners are watching you guys tonight. They're actually having hopes that you guys would win because it's Brighton, But I want you guys to actually lose this game, play in a pathetic way, and show them that they've got to back me and get in a few signings. I hope it was as scripted as that, but unfortunately not. And let's go on to our substitutes. Moving on from Jadon Sancho, we'll start off with Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo could actually is up there as a man of the match contender, because all the other players are pathetic. I think the man of the match contenders for this game is Jadon Sancho, Lisandro Martinez, Eriksen. You could give a slight shout out to him as well. Cristiano Ronaldo, Tyrell Malacia, and maybe even Donny van de Beek as well. It's got to be the substitutes, because I think once the substitutes did come, especially after Donny van de Beek, we did see that tempo rise up a little, and bit of attacking display out there and trying to create a few chances. And starting off with Ronaldo, I would actually give him a 6 as well. Not the best of games, but you really can't blame him either. He doesn't have that service. At United, he went from having Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs behind him to now having Scott McTominay and Fred behind him. So you could actually understand his situation of there. Two world class midfielders in Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes, and now going to Scott McTominay and Fred, I think is even more world class from Manchester United as well. And let's move on from Cristiano Ronaldo to our next substitute, and I don't think that is Anthony Elanga. In fact, yes, it's titled Malacia, so let's stick to Malacia. I think he too deserves a 6. I think our substitutes were quite decent once they did come in as well, and especially when the likes of Donny van de Beek came in as well. I think I would give Van de Beek a 6 as well. I think once Van de Beek came, he actually did show Eric Ten Hag that he deserves a chance to start the next game, because we saw with his passing, his vision, and his by his vision, what I mean is like his vision is not as good as the Ozils and the midfielders who are up there. But what I mean, it's definitely an improvement from Scott McTominay and Fred, because when you have Fred as the midfield pivot, you see this ball being passed sideways. They're not the basic passes. It keeps going back to the goalkeeper. It keeps going back to your centre backs, and your centre backs send it out to the goalkeeper, and it's all that backwards plays. Very negative type of football when you have that midfield pivot in Scott McTominay and Fred. Whereas when you get Varane, he seems he always tries to progress with the ball. He seems to push the ball forward instead of sending it behind him, and I think that's one positive we could take out of the game as well, and that is why I've given Donny van de Beek a 6. Anthony Elanga, nothing really much. I'll give him a 4. I think it would be too harsh. I would give him a 5, and I think it would be too harsh to give the substitutes anything below 4, because they did come on a little too late, I thought, as well, and the time they did spend on the pitch, I do think is just not enough to change a game, considering the situation we were in. McTominay back heel 10 out of 10, definitely. I think definitely contender for the pass of the season as well. You could scrap off that Messi goal, that bicycle kick, and you give Scott McTominay that award. And I think the nominees for Ballon d'Or are coming very soon as well. It should be early October or late August or something. Somewhere around this year, and towards the end of this year, you've got the nominees for Ballon d'Ors coming in as well. I do think that Scott McTominay definitely should be a nominee from Manchester United for that Ballon d'Or, definitely, because he's got that passion in him, he's got that hunger in him, he's got that desire in him. And like the Manchester United pundits say, he's a young lad. He's a lad of just 26 years of age, or 28 years of age, if I'm not wrong. The man's young. He's got 39 at the back of his jersey. He puts his collar up. He's 25 years of age. He puts his collar up, brings that inner Eric Cantona in him, brings that passion in him, passes the ball sideways, passes the ball backwards, keeps that positive type of football. Definitely a contender for the Ballon d'Or this season as well. And definitely since Barcelona not able to register Robert Lewandowski, I don't think he could put in any performances worthwhile to be nominated in that list of Ballon d'Ors. Here's a funny joke for you, man. United fans, cheer you guys up a bit. Harry Maguire, 80 million in 2019 versus Erling Haaland, 51 million in 2022. That says it all, really. I know it's a pathetic situation, and it's just not the first time that I've been hearing this joke. I think ever since the completion of that 1.5 seasons for Harry Maguire at Manchester United, we've been hearing that joke for the 80 millionth time, you could say, the 80 million price tag on Harry Maguire, and this, that. And I remember when Harry Maguire first came to Manchester United at his early days, and Jose Mourinho was sacked. Jose Mourinho was brought on as a pundit for some show, and he did say, Harry Maguire is a very desperate signing United had to make, because we were crying for a centre back, and Jose Mourinho himself did say, I was crying for a centre back at Manchester United, and I think Oli is now rewarded with Harry Maguire. And I think it's that desperateness we had for a centre back is what made us pay 80 million for him. But I really do think 80 million is way too much, and I think since then Leicester have been capitalizing on that as well, because we paid 80 million to him, and now they're asking more than 70 million from Chelsea as well for Wesley Fofana, making almost 160 million out of two centre backs in Harry Maguire and Wesley Fofana as well. Smart business by Leicester City. I actually do think that money should rather be spent on Douglas Soyuncu, who I think would actually be a better centre back than Harry Maguire. And you could say actually a little better than Wesley Fofana. Yes, Fofana is young, he looks a proper centre back as well, but Soyuncu's got that pace in him and could actually promise you more game time than Fofana, because Fofana is a little injury prone. And Leicester seem to be making good business. United seem to be making even better business, getting and buying players for 80 million, 100 million, wages of about 400,000 for a week, and then you sell them for about 20 to 30 million. That's United. That's the United DNA. Man, we've got the money, mate. You are poor. If you need money, we'll donate it to you. We'll give you 80 million for the worst player you've got and sell him back to you for 20 million. That's your financial situation resolved. And that's the situation at Manchester United. It's a pathetic situation. It's not just recruiting, starting from top to bottom, head to toe, everything in Manchester United is pathetic. It's I actually wanted to say this, but I hated and I didn't. I hated saying that. Actually, even hated myself for thinking about it, and that is why actually I did not tweet it out as well. But as much as I hate to say it, I think it's the truth. It's a new season and it's just the same old narrative. A new manager, same old players, same old owners, and the direction this seems to be going it's not quite good. And I actually do hope that United actually change this situation. That's pretty much it from tonight's show, folks. You were live for the match reaction and player ratings. Unfortunately, I couldn't get you the graphics up on screen tonight because I'm not updated them yet, so I do apologize on that. And I promise you I'll get you the updated graphics by next week for the match reaction and player ratings. If you did miss out, the game United took on Brighton and Hove Albion tonight at 6 p.m. Sri Lankan time, and United did manage to lose that game comfortably 1-2, where the goal that we scored was given out of sympathy by McAllister, if I'm not wrong, which was an own goal. That's pretty much it for tonight's show. And if you are new here, do give us a subscribe. Let's hit 200 subscribers. I will be bringing you upgrades to show as soon as I'm done with my exams. I promise you that as well. And if you are actually new here, do give us a subscribe. Smash a like on the video. Share this video around as well to your fellow friends, families, and anyone you've got who is a Manchester United fan. Keep tuning every week on Fridays and Sundays, 10 p.m. Sri Lankan time. And send in your feedback, anything you've got on that comment section. If you're tuning live, do send it on the live comments as well. And until I see you next week on Friday for the pre-match press conference reaction, this is good night and goodbye, and have a blessed week. This is the United Forum.